Okay, today we're going to talk a little bit about which mulch to use for your tropical garden, or which mulch to use in general. We're going to talk a little bit about the three types that we use here in the garden, and I'll tell you about a few types that I don't use and why we don't use them. And mulches can, of course, add a pleasing look to your landscape. They can help retain moisture in the soil. They can help keep the plant roots from being too hot or too cold. Help keep them at an even temperature with the soil. And so let's talk about a few things. And since we're on the tropical channel, we'll take a look here at our waggy palm in the background here. But below it you'll see that we have our rock mulch. And rock mulch is kind of a I don't know, I have kind of a love-hate relationship with it. The love part is that, you know, it's pretty easy to maintain. It lasts for a long time. You don't have to redo it. But it has a few negatives. One of the biggest negatives is, especially for your tropical plants, is if you have any plant that's going to spread, it obviously can't spread in this these big rocks blocking the way. So you know, it's not good for that. And if you ever want to replant or move something, it's really a hassle because you have to take like a bucket or something and move all these rocks into it, get them all out of the way, and then try to dig your hole and then put all the rocks back around it in kind of a symmetrical way. And these rocks kind of go down in the soil and get buried up with dirt, and so they're a real hassle if you want to redo some things. But if you have an area that just has a few like larger things that aren't gonna expand or spread like a palm tree like this, then they're not too bad. But and so they cost a lot, you know, to initially put in, and kind of hard to put initially in. They're heavy, obviously. And the other big thing is, if you ever change your mind and you don't like the rocks later on, you're going to have a heck of a time getting rid of these things, because what are you going to do? Put them out on the curb for somebody to get? You know, they're hard to get rid of. So you're not going to be changing your mind once you put in rocks. So love-hate relationship with them, but that's pretty much the thing with rocks. And so we'll go on and take a look at the next thing we have in our yard. And the next thing we'll take a look at that we have in our yard is pine needles. And of course, these pine needles are something we use around mainly in our front landscape, and I use it a little bit in this backyard. But the pine needles are real easy to put out. They're real easy to get a hold of at your local Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever. And these, one of the benefits is that they stay in place really good, make a good edge. They don't float away. When you put them out, you just you take them and wash them down with a hose or whatever, spray them down, and they'll stay in place really well. Pine needles are really good around things, especially that acid-loving plants, and so you can look that up, see if any of your plants love the acid type of soil. But the pine needles, while they're good around like your landscape, they're not as good for your tropical plants, mainly because they will suffocate anything that's trying to spread, like your canna or colocasia or elephant ears or any other type of plants like that. And they also kind of create a pretty thick mat. They don't disintegrate. They don't turn into beneficial nutrients for the soil as easy as something like a wood mulch. And so I don't use the pine needles around most of our tropical beds. And so of course, one of the benefits is also one of the cons of the wood mulch is the pine needles will stay in place once you wet them down really easy. Wood mulch, if it gets a heavy rain, will wash out in different places over your grass and different things, and so wood mulch can be a hassle for that. But anyway, pine needles, I don't really recommend them for most cases for your tropical plants. But anyway, we'll take a look at next, which is my favorite, and then we'll take a look at some things that we definitely don't recommend you mulch with. So let's take a look. And as we take a look back here at some of our Tropicana, you see it's just coming up this year. We'll go over one of my favorite mulches that we use, and that's pine bark mulch. Now, when you go to look at pine bark mulch in the store, you see generally several different types. There'll be pine bark mulch, is the way it's labeled on the back. That'll be kind of the shredded type. That'll look more kind of like this. Well, I don't have a good example of it here, but kind of the smaller shredded up pieces. You'll also see that they have pine bark mini nuggets. That'll be kind of this size right here. And they'll also have pine bark nuggets, which are the larger type size. Something like that. And these are a good natural source of mulch to put on your plants. And pine bark mulch has a lot of pros. It's good because unlike the rocks and the pine needles, even though they break down, the pine bark mulch breaks down into a little bitty fine kind of dirt type mixture that mixes in with your soil, and good benefit to your soil. It has the best moisture retention of the things that we're talking about. It's easy in the winter to pile it up to do protect your roots against the cold. And what we really like about it is plants like this like to spread, and they can come up real easy through the pine bark mulch. You don't have any problems with that. Really, the biggest negatives to the pine bark mulch is that it's easy to wash away. If you have it out by your grass or whatever, and it comes a large rainstorm, a lot of this washes out into the grass. Sometimes blows away some, so it has those problems. Over time, you have to replace it a lot because it does break down pretty fast. The larger nuggets break down a little slower, but over time, you're going to have to be doing a lot more replacing of this type of mulch. But besides those two cons, the pine bark mulch is our favorite in the tropical beds. It's easy. If you want to dig a new hole, and like the rocks, you just push it aside a little bit, dig your hole, and you're done. If a little bit of it gets mixed in with the dirt, it's no big deal. And so that makes it really easy. And so now we'll go on and we'll talk about a couple different types of mulch that I don't think you should ever use, but a lot of people do. So let's see. Well, as we take a look here at some of our kind of shade area tropicals that we have. Oh, we have our pineapple lily, which is starting to come out here. We have our Fatsia japonica that's coming back to life after it got burnt pretty bad this winter. And we have our Christmas ferns here, which don't mind the cold at all. They can take it some really pretty extreme cold. But anyway, I've been putting out mulch in different beds for, I'm getting older, over 30 years. And when I first started out, I made the mistake of putting out something called rubber mulch, and that's ground up tires. Now that stuff doesn't benefit your soil any. If it washes out into the grass or something like that, it will never go away. And this seems like a really bad idea. you know, it's a mess. And so that's one I would definitely never recommend. The second thing that I'd never recommend is, and I've used it a few times, I've made that mistake, is any of your color mulches, like your black mulch, your red mulch. They've changed over. Originally using a little bit more environmentally friendly dyes, but to get that dye to go in the wood, what they do is they are using recycled old scrap wood. And so unlike your pine bark, which comes off the tree and is wet, they can't really dye that because it still has a high moisture content. And so what they do is they take like these ground up old pallets or old recycled like decking material that comes off of house, and they take that, and that accepts the color a lot better, and they put these dyes in it, which it's just a bad idea. So you're putting ground up recycled wood, and just think about it, the pallets, they could have been shipped with anything. They could have been shipped with some sort of chemicals or whatever that leach down into the pallet. They grind up that wood, you're putting that out on your landscape, you have no idea what is going out there. Some of the stuff they grind up could be like pressure treated wood that has chemicals in it, and you just have no idea. And so there's no way to trust that type of wood that comes out. Now, you know, I'm sure a lot of them say their wood comes from this or that or the other, and you can check into that, but it would be my general recommendation not to use that type of mulch for your landscape. So that's pretty much it for today. I hope you've enjoyed that, and if you get out and mulch some of your landscape, hope it's helped you a little bit, and we'll talk to you later.